Elara had always loved the quiet charm of Windvale, where the river shimmered like molten silver and the fields smelled of wildflowers. Her laughter mingled with Tharen's as they walked along the village path, unaware of the dark shadow that lay beyond the trees. Villagers had long whispered warnings about Shadow Grove, the forest at the village's edge, and Raven Court, the crumbling castle at its heart. No one who entered ever returned the same, if at all. But youth and love make one reckless, and Elara and Tharen had never thought themselves ordinary. They paused at the forest's border as twilight deepened. A chill slithered through the air, carrying whispers only the wind could understand. "I think we should turn back," Tharen said, his hand brushing hers. But Elara, ever curious, stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the darkened tree line. "Just a little farther," she urged. "I want to see the heart of the forest, even from the edge." The trees seemed to lean closer, their twisted branches like bony fingers. A black cat darted across the path and disappeared into the shadows. Tharen frowned. "Did you see that?" "Probably just a stray," Elara said, though unease pricked her chest. Without warning, the air thickened, and the sky above them dimmed unnaturally. A screech split the silence, sharp as a blade. Tharen tried to reach for her, but his body refused to move. Panic gripped him. A shadow passed over them, and Elara felt herself lifted as if invisible hands had grabbed her. She screamed, but her voice faltered, shrinking into nothingness. Her form blurred, her arms and legs compressing, feathers bursting from her skin, until in a heartbeat she was no longer Elara, but a small, delicate nightingale trapped within a golden cage that appeared as if conjured from the air itself. Tharen struggled, his eyes wide with horror. The shadow shifted and solidified into a massive screech owl perched atop a gnarled tree. Its eyes glowed like molten amber, and every feather seemed alive with malice. The owl let out another shriek, and Tharen froze entirely, powerless to act. The forest seemed to pulse around them, the darkness pressing in. Then, suddenly, the spell lifted. Tharen could move again. He fell to his knees, heart hammering. The cage hovered in the air, the nightingale inside pecking and fluttering in distress. He recognized her instantly. "Elara," he cried, "hold on, I will find a way." But the owl, now a shadow of the witch Morwena, disappeared into the trees, leaving only a faint echo of her laughter. For hours, Tharen wandered Shadow Grove, despair threatening to swallow him. Each tree looked the same, each shadow a potential trap. Yet he could not stop. Memories of Elara's smile, her voice, her laugh, every detail drove him forward. That night he slept fitfully beneath the gnarled branches, and in his dreams, the forest opened like a vision. There, glowing against the black soil, was a single flower, crimson red with a luminous pearl at its heart. A voice whispered in his mind, "This is the only way to break her curse." He awoke with the first hint of dawn, determination sharpening his senses. If he was to save Elara, he would have to find the crimson lumen. The forest resisted him at every turn. Brambles tore at his clothes and skin. Rivers threatened to sweep him away, and strange creatures, wolves with silver eyes, crows that moved unnaturally, watched from the shadows. Every step was a test of courage, every decision a matter of life or death. Tharen pressed on, guided by the memory of the dream. Hours became a blur of exertion and near failure. At one point he came to a ravine, a gaping chasm shrouded in mist. The only way across was a bridge of woven branches, swinging dangerously in the wind. Heart-pounding, he stepped forward, one foot after the other, arms outstretched for balance. Halfway across, a branch snapped, and he clutched desperately at the vines. Below, mist swirled, hiding a fall that promised nothing but death. A surge of determination drove him forward, and he reached the other side with his breath ragged but spirit unbroken. Then, finally, He found it. The crimson lumen rose from the soil, its petals glimmering like liquid fire, the pearl at its center pulsating with magic. Tharen fell to his knees, overwhelmed with relief and awe. He cupped the flower, feeling its power seep into him, not just magic, but courage, hope, and love made tangible. He whispered to it, "I will not fail. I will save her." By nightfall, Tharen returned to the edge of Ravencourt. The castle loomed, a jagged silhouette against the moonlit sky. From the battlements, Morwena emerged, her form shifting from an old hag to a cat, and back again, the cage carrying ELARA suspended in the air beside her. Her laughter echoed through the trees, taunting, cruel. "You are too late, boy," she hissed. "The forest claims all who enter." Tharen raised the crimson lumen, its glow slicing through the darkness. The witch screeched and lunged, her magic colliding with the flower's light. Sparks of energy flared, illuminating the crumbling towers and twisted battlements. Tharen ducked and dodged, advancing steadily, each step a testament to his resolve. The cage trembled. ELARA pecked at its bars, her tiny heart beating against the golden prison. Tharen felt a surge of panic, but steadied himself, pressing the flower against the cage. A wave of light erupted, and the magic holding her form began to unravel. Feathers fell away, bones stretched, and in a heartbeat she was ELARA again, breathless, beautiful, and human. She threw her arms around him. "Tharen!" she cried. The cages around the castle began to shake violently. Nightingales burst forth, their forms shifting back into young maidens, some weeping, others laughing, all free from Morwena's cruel enchantments. The witch's power faltered. Morwena shrieked, her owl form twisting violently before collapsing into a heap of lifeless shadow. The castle groaned as stones cracked and fell, the dark magic dissipating into the forest like mist. Tharen and ELARA embraced amid the chaos, relief washing over them in waves. "We're safe," he whispered, kissing her forehead. She smiled through tears, clutching the crimson lumen, now dimming but still warm with residual magic. Together they stepped through the forest, guiding the newly freed maidens back toward Windvale. As the village appeared in the first light of dawn, cheers erupted. The villagers had heard the commotion and rushed out to see Tharen and ELARA return victorious, the freed maidens in tow. Children ran to meet them, elders wept with joy, and the once quiet streets filled with music and laughter. Tharen and ELARA knew that this day would be remembered forever. Before we continue with the rest of their story, if you're enjoying this tale of courage and magic, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps bring more stories like this to life. Tharen and ELARA did not pause long in Windvale. Though the village was safe, the shadow of Ravencourt still lingered in their minds. Stories of Morwena's cruelty had etched themselves into every corner of the forest. They knew the witch's defeat might not be absolute until the castle itself was truly purged of dark magic. At dusk, the couple returned to Shadowgrove. The forest, once threatening, now seemed quieter, almost expectant. Tharen gripped the crimson lumen tightly, its faint glow illuminating the twisting roots and broken branches. They reached the edge of Ravencourt, and there it stood, ominous, battered, yet stubbornly looming like a sentinel of old fears. From the crumbling battlements, Morwena appeared once more. Her form flickered between owl, cat, and hag, each transformation faster than the last, her voice dripping with venom. "You think one flower can undo centuries of power?" she spat. The cages floated behind her, now empty, yet the air trembled with residual magic, threatening to ensnare anyone who stepped too close. Tharen stepped forward, the crimson lumen glowing brighter with each heartbeat. "Your reign ends tonight, Morwena. You will harm no one else." His voice carried determination, the kind that cut through fear itself. ELARA flew to his side, now fully human, her eyes blazing with courage. Together they approached the gates. Morwena lunged, sending a burst of dark magic like jagged lightning. Tharen raised the flower, its crimson light colliding with the spell. Sparks erupted, illuminating the jagged towers, twisted stairways, and broken windows. The witch shrieked, twisting violently in midair, attempting to flee in her cat form, then owl, then hag, each form more desperate than the last. The castle itself seemed alive in response, its stones rattling, doors slamming, towers groaning. Cages that had long held innocent maidens shook violently. Nightingales inside burst forth, their tiny wings flapping frantically as magic twisted their forms back into human shapes. Screams and laughter mingled, echoing across the stone corridors. Some collapsed to their knees, weeping with relief, while others embraced friends they hadn't seen in years. Tharen moved with purpose, pressing the crimson lumen against the largest cage where ELARA had once been trapped. Light exploded outward, a shockwave of energy that shattered the remaining chains and bindings. ELARA threw herself into his arms once more, her voice trembling. "It's over," she whispered. "You did it." Morwena's final scream reverberated through Raven Court, her body unraveling into shadows that dissolved into the night. The castle trembled violently as if mourning its lost mistress, but slowly the stones stabilized. The oppressive weight lifted from the air, replaced with the scent of dew and a faint hint of wildflowers. Shadowgrove seemed to exhale, its darkness replaced with a calm that felt almost holy. The freed maidens gathered around Tharen and ELARA, thanking them, hugging them, sharing stories of long nights trapped in cages. Some were strangers, some had been whispered about in village tales, and all carried scars of fear and confinement. Yet the hope in their eyes shone brighter than the crimson lumen itself. Tharen and ELARA finally turned toward each other, exhausted but alive. "We can finally go home," he said, holding her close. She smiled, brushing her hair from her face. "Home?" she echoed. It wasn't just Windvale. It was the life they had fought for, the freedom they had reclaimed. The journey back through Shadowgrove was no longer threatening. The trees, once sinister, seemed almost protective, their branches guiding the group gently toward the village. Villagers ran to meet them, faces filled with relief, wonder, and joy. Children laughed, elders cried, and even the animals of the village seemed to sense the change in the air. When Windvale came into full view, a celebration erupted. Fires were lit, music played, and tables overflowed with food. Tharen and ELARA were hailed as heroes, their courage spoken of in every corner of the village. The freed maidens were welcomed into homes, reunited with families, and gifted new beginnings. Among the cheering and festivities, Tharen took ELARA's hand and led her to the center of the square. "Today," he announced, voice strong and clear, "we celebrate not just our victory, but the power of hope, courage, and love." The villagers cheered louder, their voices echoing into the twilight. ELARA smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "And tomorrow," she said softly, "we begin a new life, together." Tharen bowed slightly and kissed her hand. The crimson lumen safely placed on the altar beside them, its light now gentle and steady. The wedding ceremony was simple but radiant. Friends and neighbors surrounded them, blessings mingling with laughter. Music filled the air as the first dance began, a circle of warmth and love forming around the couple. Every smile, every glance, every cheer was a reminder that darkness could be defeated, that courage could overcome fear, and that love could break even the most powerful spells. Later, as the celebrations wound down and the stars began to twinkle over Windvale, Tharen and ELARA walked to the edge of the village. Hand in hand, they looked toward Shadow Grove, now quiet, still, and free from Morwena's influence. "Do you think it will ever try to harm anyone again?" ELARA asked softly. Tharen shook his head, smiling. "Not while love and courage are alive, and even if it does, we will be ready." The night air was filled with quiet triumph. The couple returned to the village, joined by the newly freed maidens and villagers alike, sharing stories of bravery and survival. Around them, laughter and music wove together with the lingering magic of the crimson lumen, reminding everyone that even in the darkest places, hope could shine. As the villagers settled in for the night, ELARA and Tharen sat atop the hill overlooking Windvale, the moonlight reflecting in the river below. "We did it," ELARA whispered. "We did," Tharen replied, pulling her close. "And tomorrow, we build a life that no darkness can touch." And so, with hearts full, the village of Windvale slept peacefully. Shadow Grove remained a forest of mystery, yes, but no longer of fear. The story of Tharen, ELARA, and the Crimson Lumen would be told for generations, a tale of courage, hope, and the unbreakable power of love. If you've enjoyed this magical journey, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what part of the story thrilled you the most. Your support helps bring more captivating tales like this straight to your screen. Days turned into weeks, and life returned to its gentle rhythm in Windvale. The maidens who had been freed found new homes, some marrying within the village, others traveling to distant lands, carrying with them the courage they had witnessed and the memory of the brave hearts who had saved them. Tharen and ELARA's wedding became the village's most celebrated event of the year. Lanterns lined the streets, laughter spilling from every home, and music echoing late into the night. The couple danced under the stars, surrounded by friends, family, and those who had once been prisoners of a cruel enchantress. Even as peace settled, a quiet reminder of their adventure remained. The Crimson Lumen, now placed safely in the village's Hall of Stories, glowed faintly, a symbol of hope, of courage, and the enduring strength of love. Children would often gaze at it in awe, and elders would smile knowingly. Sharing tales of the night Tharen and ELARA dared the darkness and returned victorious. And so, life in Windvale thrived. Shadow Grove was no longer a place of fear, but a reminder that darkness could be faced and overcome. The story of bravery, magic, and love lived on, carried by every whisper in the wind, every flutter of a bird's wings, and every heart willing to believe in hope. So remember, even when shadows seem strongest, courage and love can light the way. And if you want to journey with more stories of magic, adventure, and the triumph of the human spirit, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps keep these tales alive for everyone to enjoy. Tharen and ELARA, hand in hand, watched the stars one last time that night, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. And with the Crimson Lumen's gentle glow nearby, they knew the world would always have a little more light, a little more hope, and a lot more magic than anyone could ever imagine.